I'm going to immediately get this out of the way. I am a fan of Vaush's content. Sound off in the comments all you want about that. I don't fucking care. I've been watching him since summer 2019. And in the near 5 years I've been watching him, I've been a witness to many controversies he's been a part of. Some where I felt it was erroneous, and others where I thought, well, you kind of put yourself in this position, like that time where he was ironically misogynist towards J.K. Rowling. But all of the controversies he was involved with in the past aren't quite like the controversy he is entangled in currently. Last week, during a stream, he was going to save an image, and then a folder popped up containing some very questionable porn, to say the least. There was horse porn in there, which wasn't really all that shocking to me because he has been very upfront in his streams about his really weird fucking fetish in which he wants to be a horse and have a horse cock. This is why I don't talk to anyone in my personal life about Vaush. I've always found it to be very strange, and I've always been off-put every time he would bring it up, but I was just like, you know what? I watch this guy for his political takes, not his sex kinks, so I'll begrudgingly put that to the side. But there was other porn that was shown in that folder that many people are talking about. Supposedly, it was lolicon porn. Now, initially when this happened, I saw the clip and I was like, oh haha, some of his porn stash was shown on stream, streamer fail, and I thought everyone else would have the same mentality and everyone would just move on from this within like 2 days' time. I saw what looked like to be hentai in there, but it was small and low res, so I couldn't really tell exactly what I was looking at. But then some internet sleuths on 4chan were able to dredge up the exact images that were shown in this folder, and let's be honest, it's 4chan. They probably had some of these images saved on their hard drives already. But anyway, one of the images was supposedly drawn by a lolicon artist, and the other image was porn of a VTuber whose character is 16 years old. Now first, I gotta say, how fucking stupid are you to save porn on the same computer that you stream on? Like, this exact situation could have been avoidable in so many different ways, like having a spare computer for personal stuff, or a laptop, or just use your phone. Or, if it absolutely has to be on the same computer for some fucking reason, make a separate user profile and save your shit there. It just baffles me that he never saw this coming, because he's not some small-time streamer, nor was he some beloved figure on the internet before this controversy. People have already hurled the pedo accusation his way, thanks to some out-of-context clips that are shared around to ad nauseum, that I'll get to in a little bit. So something like this occurring is perfect ammo for that crowd, because so many people were already chomping at the bit for something like this to happen. But anyway, Vaush's sheer stupidity aside, I really can't comment on how vile the images are because I have not seen these images, nor do I have any desire to see these images. I have seen some people, even those who are Vaush fans, say yes, these pictures actually are pretty bad. These look like young girls, so pardon my lack of interest in wanting to see what seems to be drawn CP. Which begs the question, if these images are as vile as people are saying, why are people interested in seeing these images and sharing them around and saying, look at this disgusting shit, isn't this streamer a freak? Like, is the confirmation alone that at least one of these images was made by a lolicon artist not enough for you to stay the fuck away? But if you have not seen these images, how can you conclusively say whether or not Vaush is a freak? I'm not. I have no clue whether or not it's easy to tell if the girls in these images are young girls. I've heard hentai is a really big problem, where it can be hard to distinguish if a character in an image is either a short petite woman or a lolly, which is why I personally do not consume that shit. I like real people, thank you very much. But what I do know is, Vaush painted himself into a corner, because how can one reasonably assess if he was knowingly downloading lolly or not? All you have is his word. He said, I thought these were short stacks. I didn't know these were lolly images, and I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it for a lot of people. It's not like this was a smear job and someone deceptively edited the clip to make it look like these images were in the folder. He accidentally pulled up these images on his own stream. This isn't really something you can argue your way out of. You can deny that you knew these were lolly images, and perhaps that's true. I don't know. I can't get into his mind, and again, no interest whatsoever in seeing these images. But the mere fact that you had possession of these images in the first place is a horrible look, and I don't blame anyone for not having trust in what you say. And now you have the resurgence of clips where if whether or not he was actually knowingly downloading lolly porn are still horribly deceptive. One was a horribly worded argument in which he was pointing out our double standards regarding our attitudes surrounding child exploitation, where we correctly condemn child sex abuse material, but don't say enough when it comes to, say, child exploitation being involved in producing commodities that are used in our foods, or involved with the creation of consumer goods that are integral in our day-to-day society, like, say, computers and smartphones. There's also the one where he was supposedly saying a child having a sexual relationship with an adult is beneficial to the child, but that wasn't really what he was saying. He was actually explaining his position on rule utilitarianism versus act utilitarianism. For example, a lot of people say this in reaction to when a boy is taken advantage of by a woman, especially if that woman is considered conventionally attractive, quote-unquote. That boy scored, he was so lucky, I wish I was in his position when I was his age. And that boy may grow up and still say, yep, I scored, I got lucky, I have no regrets. The rule utilitarian position would be to condemn this action even if it did not lead to obvious psychological or physical damage to the victim, because here are these multiple other examples of victims of the same heinous action who were scarred by said heinous action that vastly outweigh the amount of people who weren't. The act utilitarian position would be, again, those who make a special exception if the perpetrator is quote-unquote hot and the victim is just a teenage horn dog boy who wanted sex anyway and still doesn't regret the action later on down the line. The position Vaush was ascribing himself to was that the action is still heinous regardless of the result the action produces. If you still think it's weird that his mind immediately went to an adult taking advantage of a minor for an example, then yeah, I can't really argue against that. I personally think he was gravitating towards the example he knew would produce the most shock value to further hammer in his point, but still, with the hindsight of Lolly being on his computer, yeah, it is kind of fucking weird. But yeah, these clips are a nothing burger that have been shared around for years. I've seen these over and over again, and when you look into the context, you realize, oh, he was actually saying something completely different. He was just a dumbass in the early days who frequently poorly worded his arguments. And notice that all of these clips are from like 2019, 2020. It's almost like he got better with this as the years went on. But the Lolly stuff, on the other hand, if it really is as bad as people are saying, I really don't see how you can reasonably defend that. Vaush himself has said he's working on a big response video to this currently, which I eagerly await because I'm really on the fence when it comes to this shit. But one thing's for certain is Vaush really fucked up this time. That is just undeniable, and I'd imagine his channel growth will be fucked for a long time because, understandably, a lot of people don't trust him now. And he really has no one to blame but himself. This could have been avoided in so many different ways. How he didn't have the foresight to imagine that something like this could happen one day is totally beyond me. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.